That email lands in your inbox. Your manager wants to talk. 1:11 on the calendar. Your stomach drops. You know what this is, a performance improvement plan. The corporate euphemism that means we're documenting your exit. 3 months to fix everything, or you're out. Here's what nobody tells you. A PIP is not a test of your skills, it's a test of your response. Most engineers treat a PIP like a technical problem to solve. Work harder, code more, stay late, prove your worth through sheer output. That's exactly how you lose. The system is designed to reward response, not effort. The companies that put you on a PIP have already decided the odds are against you. At Amazon, it's called focus. At Meta, they use the formal PIP process. Google has PIP and the grueling supportive performance improvement plan. The data across these companies says roughly 10% survive. Those aren't great odds, but they're not zero. And the ones who make it aren't necessarily the best engineers. They're the ones who understood the game. Here's the reframe that changes everything. A PIP is not about becoming a better engineer in 90 days. It's about becoming the engineer your manager wishes they hired. That's a subtle but massive difference. Your manager has a picture in their head of what success looks like, how you communicate, how you handle ambiguity, how you work with others. Your job is to figure out what that picture is and become it. The PIP meeting itself is where most people lose. When your manager says, we need to put you on a PIP, your instinct will be to defend yourself, to explain, to argue that you've been working hard, that the requirements changed, that you didn't get enough support. Don't do it. Every minute you spend defending is a minute you're not listening. Say this instead, I understand. If they give you vague feedback like, improve ownership, ask for a concrete example. Can you tell me about a specific time someone else demonstrated ownership in a way you'd like to see from me? You need the, I want to succeed here. What specifically do I need to change? Then write down exactly what they say. Blueprint, not the philosophy. After the meeting, send an email. Thanks for the feedback today. Here's what I heard I need to improve X, Y, and Z. Here's my understanding of what success looks like. Did I capture anything incorrectly? This does two things. It shows that you're serious, and it creates clarity. If your manager disagrees with your summary, better to know now than 3 months from now. First move, ask for brutal clarity about expectations, not the vague corporate speak in the official document. You need the real expectations. Schedule a follow-up meeting with your manager and ask them directly, what does success actually look like? If they say improve communication, that means nothing. Ask for specific examples. What did someone else do in this situation that worked? What should I have done differently last week? Write down their exact words. Those words are your rubric. At Google, a senior engineer on a PIP once asked his manager, show me the last code review where I fell short. The manager pulled up a PR. The engineer had focused on the technical implementation, but missed that the reviewer was asking about edge cases and production readiness. That was the gap, not technical skill, but thoroughness and anticipation. He survived by shifting every code review to ask, what could go wrong? What would an experienced engineer check here? Second move, over-communicate your progress. Create a shared doc. Update it every Friday. Here's what I accomplished. Here's what's in progress. Here's the blocker I need help with. Make it impossible for your manager to wonder what you're doing. Visibility is your ally here. When you make progress visible, you turn faith into evidence. A Meta E6 engineer found himself on a PIP after a high-stakes project failed. His feedback was vague, lack of strategic thinking, but his manager mentioned one specific incident where he'd executed without asking enough questions up front. He created a Friday doc that listed every decision point that week, the options he considered, and the stakeholders he consulted. Within 6 weeks, his manager started citing the doc as an example of the behavior they wanted. Third move, document everything. Every conversation with your manager, send a recap email. Just to confirm our discussion, here's what I'm taking away. If they disagree, you'll know immediately. If they don't respond, you have a paper trail. This isn't about covering your ass. Well, partly it is. It's also about showing that you take this seriously enough to get the details right. At Amazon, an SDE1 was put on a focus plan for missed deadlines. When she documented everything, she discovered that deadlines had shifted mid-sprint without clear communication. Her documentation became her defense not by arguing, but by showing patterns. Her manager had forgotten some of the scope creep. The documentation kept everyone honest. Fourth move, track your work like a lawyer building a case. You need evidence. Create a simple log, every task you complete, every meeting you attend, every positive interaction. A Pinterest engineer saved himself on a PIP by maintaining a wins doc. His feedback was low impact. He started listing every deployment, every bug he fixed that affected users, every time he helped a teammate. When his manager challenged his progress, he had receipts. Fifth move, know your BATNA. Before you commit yourself to the PIP grind, understand your alternatives. What if this doesn't work? Do you have savings? How's your resume? When was the last time you interviewed? The moment you land on a PIP, you should start talking to recruiters. Not because you're giving up, because leverage matters. When you know you have options, you negotiate from strength. When you feel trapped, you make desperate decisions. Here's the brutal truth. Most PIPs are designed to be survived. The documentation requirement, the weekly check-ins, the improvement plan itself, it's HR protecting the company from lawsuits. The psychology is designed to make you feel small, so you'll leave on your own. The moment you accept that this is a process, not a judgment on your worth, you stop playing defense. What makes this hard? Your ego, that voice in your head saying you don't deserve this. Maybe you don't. Maybe you've been coasting. Maybe your manager is terrible and this is unfair. Both can be true. A MongoDB manager was put on a PIP by a new director who wanted to bring in his own team. The documentation cited vague concerns about leadership presence. It was unfair. It was also happening. Arguing about fairness wouldn't change the outcome. The emotional toll is real. You'll wake up at 3 a.m. checking Slack. You'll second-guess every email. You'll feel like everyone knows. Some people will avoid you in the halls. Your confidence will tank. This is normal. The engineers who survive aren't the ones who never feel it. They're the ones who feel it and keep going anyway. They compartmentalize. They show up, do the work, document the progress, and go home. They don't make the PIP their entire identity. Let me tell you about Marcus. He was a staff engineer at a major tech company, got put on a PIP for communication issues. The reality, he'd been heads down on a hard technical problem and hadn't been proactively updating stakeholders. His manager felt blindsided. Marcus's instinct was to defend himself. He'd solved the problem. Wasn't that enough? Instead, he swallowed his pride. He asked his manager to walk him through a project where another engineer had communicated well. He started sending weekly updates, even when there wasn't much to report. He over-communicated. 6 months later, not only did he survive the PIP, he got promoted. His manager cited his communication transformation as the reason. The PIP forced him to build a muscle he'd been neglecting. Not everyone survives. And not everyone should. Sometimes a PIP is the wake-up call that you're in the wrong role, the wrong company, the wrong culture. An engineer at a major streaming service realized during her PIP that she hated the politics of her org. She'd stay, survive, and still be miserable. She used a PIP period to interview elsewhere. She left on her own terms for a company where the culture fit better. That's also surviving. So here's your move for this week. If you're on a PIP, schedule that clarity conversation with your manager. Ask them to describe the engineer they want you to become. Listen, take notes, don't argue, set up your shared progress doc, send your first recap email. If you're not on a PIP but you're worried, ask your manager in your next 1-1, how am I tracking against expectations? If the answer makes you nervous, ask for one specific example of what you could improve. Then fix it. A PIP feels like the end. It doesn't have to be. Engineers survive them every day. Some even come out stronger, more self-aware, better advocates for themselves, clearer about what they want from their career. The question isn't whether the system is fair. The question is what you're going to do about it. Comment if you've been through a PIP and survived. What worked? What do you wish you'd known? Subscribe for more on navigating the messy parts of an engineering career. See you next time.